I sat at my desk until 4 a.m., methodically documenting everything. Screenshots, video recordings, network logs, timestamps. I created a folder structure a forensics team would worship. Every file dated, tagged, verified. My girlfriend Sarah was asleep in my bed. She had no idea I hadn't woken her. How do you wake someone up to tell them they've been watched for 8 months? That every intimate moment had an audience of one? I kept working. I found the purchase records. Henderson had bought 2 ESP32 cam modules online, $12 each. Budget surveillance. The cloud storage was a basic VPS virtual private server rented under his company name, Amateur Hour. He wasn't some sophisticated voyeur. He was just a creep with basic tech skills and access to my ceiling. At 6 a.m., Sarah stirred. She rolled over and saw me still at my laptop. "Babe, did you pull an all-nighter?" I turned to face her. My eyes felt like sandpaper. "Sarah, don't freak out, but we need to leave right now." "What?" "Pack a bag, your essentials. We're going to a hotel." She sat up, suddenly alert. "What happened?" I told her. I watched her face go through the stages. Confusion, disbelief, horror, rage. She started shaking. Then she ran to the bathroom and threw up. We were out in 20 minutes. I took my laptop, my phone, 2 external hard drives, and the SD card from the bathroom camera. Sarah grabbed clothes and toiletries in a daze. She kept looking at the smoke detector in the bedroom. Her face was white. In the Uber, she finally spoke. 8 months. Yeah, he saw us. Everything? Everything. She started crying. Not loud, just silent tears streaming down her face. I held her hand. Mine was still shaking. We checked into a mid-range hotel downtown. Sarah immediately got in the shower. She stayed in there for 40 minutes. When she came out, her skin was red from scrubbing. I feel disgusting. It's not your fault. I know that. I still feel disgusting. I ordered room service. Neither of us touched it. At 9 a.m., I started making calls. The first lawyer I spoke to was a referral from a friend, corporate law. He listened for 3 minutes and said, "You need a criminal attorney and a civil one. This is federal." The second call was to Margaret Chen. She specialized in privacy violations and surveillance law. Her assistant put me through immediately when I mentioned hidden cameras and landlord. "Tell me everything," Chen said. Her voice was sharp, professional. I did. The whole story. The device on my network, the admin panel, the IP address, the bathroom camera, the 8 months of footage. There was a pause. "You still have access to his server?" "Right now, yes." "Don't touch it. Don't delete anything. Don't access it again. You've already recorded what you need?" 15 minutes of video showing everything. The admin panel, the logs, the cameras, the connection. "Good. That's your nuclear option. Here's what happens next. You're going to file a police report today. You're going to request they seize his equipment immediately. Time is critical if he realizes, he might destroy evidence. Will they actually do anything? This isn't shoplifting. This is federal wiretapping, voyeurism, and violation of tenant privacy. If you have what you say you have, he's looking at years in prison, and we're going to sue him into oblivion." "How much?" "For 8 months of 24/7 surveillance of you and your girlfriend in bedroom and bathroom, including intimate moments. We're starting negotiations at 7 figures, minimum." The precinct was downtown. Sarah came with me. She'd stopped crying, but her jaw was set in this tight line. The desk officer looked bored until I said, "Hidden cameras in my apartment." Then we were in an interview room with 2 detectives. Detective Ramos, mid-42nds, built like a boxer. Detective Park, younger, sharper eyes. I showed them everything. The video file played on Park's laptop. Both detectives watched in silence. When I pointed at the camera in my own footage, when the admin panel showed Henderson's name, Ramos leaned back and whistled. "Your landlord?" "My landlord." "How long?" 8 months. Park was typing rapidly. "You have the physical cameras?" "The bathroom one. I left the bedroom one in place. Didn't want him to know I found it." "Smart," Ramos said. "We need to move fast. If he checks his logs, he'll see you access the feed. He could dump everything. How quickly can you move?" "We'll have a warrant by this afternoon. We're seizing his computers, his servers, everything. This is slam dunk probable cause." Sarah spoke for the first time. "Will we be safe?" Both detectives looked at her. Park's expression softened slightly. "Has he ever shown threatening behavior?" "No, but he has keys to our apartment." Ramos nodded. "We'll send a patrol car to sit on your building, and we'll execute the warrant at his residence, not at your unit. He won't have time to access your place." We went back to the hotel. The police said it would take 4 to 6 hours to get the warrant signed. Sarah lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. "I keep thinking about it," she said. "That night 2 months ago when we..." "Don't. He was watching." "I know. I feel like I need to burn my skin off." I didn't have an answer for that. I felt the same way. Every private moment, Every vulnerable second had been stolen. The worst part wasn't just that he'd watched. It was that we hadn't known. We'd been happy. We'd felt safe. My phone rang at 2 p.m. Ramos. Warrant signed. We're moving in 30 minutes. His home address is. He gave me an address across town. You want to be there? Yes. Thought you might. Meet us 2 blocks south. Don't approach the house. We were parked 2 blocks away when the convoy rolled up. 3 patrol cars, 1 unmarked sedan, and a tech van. 8 officers. They surrounded Henderson's house, a small, well-maintained bungalow, and Ramos knocked. Henderson answered. Even from 2 blocks away, I could see his body language change. Confusion, then fear. They were inside for 2 hours. I watched them carry out boxes, computer towers, laptops, external hard drives, an entire shelf of equipment. Henderson came out in handcuffs, his face gray. He saw me across the street. His eyes went wide. Then he looked at the ground. Ramos walked over to our car. We got everything. His entire setup was in a spare bedroom. Server rack, monitors, the works. He had feeds from your apartment, plus 2 other units. Sarah inhaled sharply. Other apartments? 2 others. We're contacting those tenants now. This gets worse. He had an organized file system. Folders, labeled by apartment number and tenant name. Timestamps. Highlights. I felt sick. Highlights? Intimate moments. Shower footage. Bedroom activities. He was building a collection. Sarah opened the car door and threw up on the street. The news broke that evening. Local station picked it up. Landlord arrested for tenant surveillance. By morning, it was regional news. By afternoon, 2 other tenants had come forward. Both women. Both had lived in Henderson's properties. Both had complained about faulty smoke detectors he'd insisted on installing. Margaret Chen called. We're filing tomorrow. I'm representing you and Sarah jointly, plus the other 2 victims. We're suing for invasion of privacy, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and violation of tenant rights. I'm also filing for an emergency restraining order and immediate lease termination without penalty. What about criminal charges? That's running parallel. The DA's office called me. They're charging him with multiple counts of voyeurism, unlawful surveillance, wiretapping, and violations of federal privacy law. They have him cold. Your evidence was perfect. How long? For trial? 6 months minimum. But he's not making bail. Judge denied it this morning. He's too much of a flight risk. 3 days later, the police cleared us to return to the apartment. They'd swept it for other devices. Found nothing. Still, I couldn't bring myself to sleep there. Sarah went in once to grab her things. She was out in 15 minutes with 2 suitcases. I can't, she said. Every time I look at that ceiling, I see that lens. I nodded. I'd already emailed Henderson's property management company run by his son and given notice under the emergency clause Margaret had invoked. We were out. Lease terminated. No penalty. They didn't even argue. We found a new apartment across town. Different building, different landlord, different everything. Sarah made me inspect every smoke detector with a screwdriver. I found nothing but actual smoke detectors. But she still couldn't sleep. Sarah started having nightmares. She'd wake up gasping, convinced someone was watching. She'd check the corners of our new bedroom, looking for cameras. During the day, she'd go quiet for hours, staring at nothing. I can't stop thinking about what he saw, she said one night. What he knows about me, about us. He's in jail. That doesn't erase what's in his head. She wasn't wrong. That was the thing about surveillance. Once someone had seen you, really seen you, in your most private moments, that knowledge couldn't be destroyed. It lived in them, permanent. 2 weeks after the arrest, Sarah moved out. It's not you, she said, packing her things from our new apartment. I can't separate you from what happened. Every time we're together, I think about him watching us. I need space. I need to process this alone. I didn't argue. I understood. I felt it too. That every intimate moment was now contaminated, tainted by the knowledge that we'd been performing for an audience we hadn't known existed. She left. I stayed in the new apartment, alone. Detective Park called a month later. We need you to come in. What's wrong? Just come in. At the precinct, Ramos and Park were waiting with a tech specialist from the cybercrimes unit. We've been analyzing Henderson's data, Ramos said. It's bigger than we thought. The tech specialist, a woman named Torres, pulled up a presentation on her laptop. Henderson wasn't just watching, he was selling. My stomach dropped. Selling what? The footage. We found cryptocurrency transactions linked to his accounts. He was running a private server where buyers could access live feeds and archived content. Your apartment, the 2 others. He was charging subscription fees. The room tilted. How many people? 47 confirmed subscribers over the 8 months. Different buyers. Some only subscribed for a week or 2. Others were there the whole time. We're tracking them down, but most used VPNs and crypto wallets. It's slow. So 47 people watched us. Watched you, yes. Downloaded content, some of it. We're trying to trace where that content went. But once it's downloaded, Torres trailed off. Once it's downloaded, it's out there forever. I knew how the internet worked. I knew about file sharing, about underground forums, about the impossibility of truly deleting digital content. I stopped sleeping. When I closed my eyes, I saw camera lenses. I started covering every potential surveillance point in my apartment. Tape over the laptop camera, towels over smoke detectors I'd already disassembled and verified were clean. I stopped undressing in my bedroom. I changed in the bathroom with the door locked. Work suffered. I'd stare at my screen, running network diagnostics, but my mind would drift. Who were those 47 people? Where did they live? What did they do with the footage? My manager called me in. "You're not yourself. Do you need some time?" I took a leave of absence. 2 months. Paid. My company was being generous. The local news coverage had made my situation public enough that they didn't want to be seen as unsupportive. I spent the 2 months in my apartment, alone, diving deeper into the case. Margaret Chen sent me updates weekly. The civil case was building. The DA had added charges, distribution of intimate imagery, operating a criminal enterprise, violation of federal wiretapping laws. Henderson was facing 30 years minimum, but that didn't change what had been taken. It didn't change that somewhere out there, in hard drives and cloud backups, pieces of my life existed, being traded, being shared, being consumed by strangers. I started having intrusive thoughts. What if I'm being watched right now? What if there are cameras I haven't found? What if my new landlord is the same? I bought a professional RF detector. I swept my apartment daily. I found nothing. But the anxiety didn't go away. The support group met in a community center downtown. 6 of us. All tenants of Henderson Properties. All victims of his surveillance network. There was Marie, mid-32s, who'd lived in one of his units for a year. She'd discovered his cameras only after the police contacted her. She hadn't even suspected. Now she couldn't be in a room without checking every corner. There was James, late 22s, who'd moved out 3 months before Henderson's arrest. He'd complained about the smoke detector making a buzzing sound. Henderson had fixed it. James now realized Henderson had probably just adjusted the camera angle. There was Keisha, early 42s, who'd lived in Henderson's building with her teenage daughter. Henderson had installed cameras in their unit too. Her daughter was in therapy now, refusing to leave her room. We sat in a circle and shared our experiences. The violation, the paranoia, the inability to feel safe anywhere. "I check hotel rooms now," Marie said. "Every time I travel, I inspect every smoke detector, every air vent, every corner. My husband thinks I'm losing it. I lost my relationship," I said. "My girlfriend couldn't handle it. She's gone." Keisha's hands were shaking. "My daughter won't shower unless I'm standing outside the bathroom door. She won't change clothes in her own room. She's 15. This was supposed to be her time to have privacy, to grow up. He stole that from her." The group facilitator, a volunteer named Linda, nodded. "What Henderson did wasn't just illegal. It was a profound violation of your sense of self. Your ability to trust your own space. That doesn't heal quickly." 6 months after Henderson's arrest, Margaret called. The DA offered him a plea deal. What kind of deal? 15 years. No parole eligibility for 10. In exchange, he provides a full accounting of all subscribers, all distributed content, and cooperation with tracking down the buyers. That's half what he was facing. I know, but here's the reality. Going to trial means putting you and the other victims on the stand. It means having every intimate detail of your surveillance made public record. It means Henderson's defense team cross-examining you about your private life. The DA thinks the plea is better for everyone. What do the others think? Marie and James are on board. Keisha is undecided. She's worried her daughter will have to testify if we go to trial. I thought about it. A trial, public testimony, my private moments described in open court, cross-examination designed to humiliate and discredit me. "Take the deal," I said. Henderson's sentencing was 3 months later. All 6 victims were allowed to give impact statements. I was the first. I stood at the podium in the courtroom and looked at Henderson. He'd aged 10 years and 9 months. Gray hair, deep lines in his face, hollow eyes. He didn't look at me. "For 8 months, I began. I lived my life thinking I was safe. I had privacy. I had autonomy. I had control over who saw me at my most vulnerable. You took that away. You didn't just watch me, you sold access to me. You turned my home into a product. You made money off my body, my relationship, my private moments." My voice cracked. I steadied myself. "The worst part isn't even what you did. It's what I've lost because of it. I've lost my relationship. I've lost my sense of safety. I've lost the ability to trust any space I'm in. I check for cameras everywhere now. Hotels, bathrooms, changing rooms, my own apartment. I can't be alone without wondering if someone is watching. You didn't just violate my privacy. You broke something fundamental in me." I sat down. Sarah was in the gallery. She'd come to give her statement too. We hadn't spoken in 4 months, but she'd texted me the night before. I'll be there. Her statement was shorter, angrier. I can't have a relationship anymore, she said, her voice hard. I can't be intimate with anyone. Every time I try, I remember that you were watching, that strangers were watching, that my body, my pleasure, my love, all of it was entertainment for perverts paying you cryptocurrency. You didn't just steal my privacy. You stole my ability to love without fear. I hope you never forget what you did to us. I hope it eats you alive. She walked back to her seat. Henderson was crying now, silently. The judge watched him with disgust. The judge sentenced Henderson to the agreed 15 years, but she added conditions. Upon release, the judge said, you will register as a sex offender. You will be prohibited from owning rental property. You will be prohibited from possessing any surveillance equipment. You will be subject to random home inspections by parole officers. You will never again have the opportunity to violate someone's privacy the way you violated these victims. Henderson was led out in handcuffs. He didn't look back. Outside the courthouse, Margaret gathered us together. The criminal case is done. Now we focus on the civil suit. His property company is in bankruptcy proceedings. His son shut it down the day after the arrest. But Henderson personally has assets, a house, retirement accounts, investments. We're going after all of it. How long? Marie asked. Another year, maybe 2, but we'll win. This is the most clear-cut case I've ever had. 18 months after Henderson's sentencing, we settled. The number was high enough that Margaret made us sign NDAs before telling us. Each victim got a 7-figure payout. Henderson lost everything. His house, his savings, his retirement, all liquidated to pay us. The money didn't fix anything. It couldn't, but it meant I could afford continued therapy. It meant I could take more time off work. It meant I had resources to rebuild my life. Sarah got her settlement too. She texted me, "It's something." That was all she said. The federal investigation into Henderson subscribers took 3 years. The FBI's cybercrimes unit tracked down 32 of the 47 buyers. Most got plea deals, probation, fines, sex offender registry. A few went to trial. The remaining 15 were overseas, or using sophisticated enough operational security that they couldn't be identified. That haunted me. 15 people out there, somewhere, with content of me, of Sarah, of the others. Content that could surface anywhere, anytime, forever. Torres called me once during the investigation. "We found something you should know about." "What?" "One of the subscribers worked in your building, 3 floors down. He'd been watching your feed regularly, saw you in the elevator, knew who you were in real life." I felt cold. "Who?" She gave me a name. I didn't recognize it, but I remembered faces in the elevator, passing in the lobby. Someone had known, had seen me naked, had watched my intimate moments, and had nodded hello in the hallway. I moved again. Different building, different neighborhood, across town. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. My therapist, Anna, specialized in trauma. She didn't call it PTSD. She said that diagnosis was too narrow. What I had was complex violation trauma. My sense of safety, of bodily autonomy, of privacy had all been systematically destroyed. "You're hypervigilant," Anna explained. "Your brain learned that your environment wasn't safe, that even in your most private space, you were being watched. That's not a lesson that unlearns quickly. We worked on it. Exposure therapy, cognitive behavioral techniques. Slowly, over months, I started to feel fractionally more normal. I could shower without checking for cameras first. I could sleep without covering every reflective surface. I could undress in my own bedroom, but I never fully relaxed. There was always a part of my mind scanning for threats, for lenses, for violation. 2 years after Henderson's arrest, I ran into Sarah at a coffee shop. Pure chance. We both froze. "Hi," she said. "Hi." We sat down together. Awkward at first, then easier. "How are you?" I asked. "Better. Therapy helped. I'm seeing someone." "That's good. It's hard, but he's patient. He knows what happened. He doesn't push." I nodded. I was happy for her. Genuinely. "You?" she asked. "I'm okay. Work is better. I got promoted, actually. Back to normal hours." "That's great." We sat in silence for a moment. "I'm sorry," she said finally, "for leaving the way I did." "Don't be. You did what you needed to do. I couldn't separate you from the trauma. Every time I looked at you, I thought about what happened. It wasn't fair to you. It wasn't fair to either of us." She smiled sadly. "No, it wasn't." We finished our coffee, exchanged numbers, promised to keep in touch. We both knew we probably wouldn't, but it was a kind ending to something that had ended badly. 3 years after the arrest, I had my first major relapse. I'd been doing well, sleeping normally, dating casually, feeling almost like my old self. Then I stayed at a hotel for a work conference, and in the middle of the night, I woke up convinced there was a camera in the smoke detector. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I turned on the lights, examined the detector, found nothing, but the thought wouldn't leave. I moved a chair, stood on it, unscrewed the detector, took it apart. Still nothing. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. In the morning, I checked out early and drove home. The paranoia stayed with me for weeks. Anna helped me work through it, but it was a reminder this wasn't over. Maybe it would never be over. 4 years after Henderson's arrest, I reached something resembling stability. I had a routine, a job I liked, an apartment I felt safe in. I was dating someone, Emma, a teacher, who knew about what happened and didn't pity me for it. "It's part of your story," she said, "but it's not all of your story." I appreciated that. The refusal to define me entirely by my trauma. I still checked smoke detectors. I still swept my apartment with the RF detector every few months. But I could sleep. I could be intimate without constant fear. I could exist in private spaces without constant monitoring of myself. The support group still met monthly. We'd become friends, in a strange way, bonded by shared violation. Marie had moved across the country. James had gone back to school. Keisha's daughter was in college now, doing better. We were healing, slowly, imperfectly, but healing. 5 years after his sentencing, Henderson sent me a letter from prison. Margaret advised me not to read it. "It won't help," she said. I read it anyway. It was short, handwritten. His penmanship was shaky. "I know I can't apologize enough for what I did. I know there's nothing I can say that will undo the harm. I think about it every day, about what I stole from you and the others. I was sick. I know that's not an excuse. I'm getting help here. Therapy, groups. It doesn't change what I did, but I want you to know that I understand what I took from you, and I'm sorry. I will be sorry for the rest of my life." I read it twice. Then I put it in a drawer. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. His apology couldn't undo the surveillance. It couldn't erase the 47 subscribers. It couldn't return the privacy he'd stolen. But some small part of me was glad he understood, glad he carried the weight of what he'd done. 6 years after the arrest, Emma and I were lying in bed. She turned to me. "Can I ask you something?" "Always. Do you ever think about him?" "Henderson?" I considered it. "Sometimes. Less now than I used to." "What do you think about?" "I think about how easy it was. How he just installed cameras. And we never knew. For 8 months we had no idea. It makes me think about how vulnerable we all are. How much we trust that people won't violate us. And how fragile that trust is." She nodded. "Do you think you'll ever feel completely safe again?" I thought about that for a long time. "No," I said finally. "I don't think I will. But I think I can feel safe enough. I think I can live without constant fear. That's the best I can hope for." She took my hand. "That's enough." 7 years after the discovery, I wrote an essay about the experience. Changed names. Altered details enough to protect everyone's privacy. But told the story. It was published in a magazine. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of messages from people who'd experienced similar violations. Hidden cameras in Airbnbs. Spyware on phones. Surveillance by partners, by roommates, by landlords. "Thank you for telling your story," one message said. I thought I was alone. That's what I realized, reading those messages. I wasn't alone. The technology had made surveillance easy, cheap, accessible, and the laws hadn't caught up. The protections weren't strong enough. The penalties weren't severe enough. Henderson got 15 years, but most voyeurs got probation. Most hidden camera cases resulted in fines. The violation was treated as a minor crime, a misdemeanor, not the profound assault on human dignity that it actually was. It's been 8 years now. Henderson is still in prison. 7 more years until he's eligible for parole. He'll be in his late 72nds when he gets out. I'm 36 now. I have a life, a career, a relationship with Emma that's become serious we're talking about. Moving in together. She understands my need to inspect smoke detectors, my need to control my environment. She doesn't judge it. The trauma has faded but not disappeared. I still have moments. A ceiling-mounted security camera in a store that's angled wrong. A conversation about smart home devices. A news story about another hidden camera case. These things trigger something in me. A tightness in my chest. A hyper-awareness of my surroundings. But I'm functional. I'm living. I'm not defined entirely by what happened to me. Sarah reached out last year. She'd gotten married. She wanted me to know she was happy. We met for coffee again. She looked lighter, less burdened. "I finally feel like I got my body back," she said. "Like it's mine again, not shared." I understood completely. The case changed laws. After Henderson's arrest and conviction, new legislation passed requiring landlords to disclose all surveillance equipment in rental properties. Penalties for illegal surveillance increased. Tenant protections strengthened. Margaret became something of an expert on surveillance law. She took on more cases, helped more victims. The Henderson case became her calling card. The 6 of us from the support group stayed in touch. We had a group chat, shared articles about privacy rights, checked in on each other during anniversaries or when news stories triggered us. We'd become a strange kind of family, united by violation, bound by survival. There is no real closure. Not for something like this. The violation is permanent. The footage, somewhere out there in digital archives, is permanent. The knowledge that strangers saw my most private moments is permanent. But I've learned to carry it, to integrate it into my story without letting it consume me, to acknowledge what was taken without letting it define what remains. I'm not the same person I was before I found that camera. That person had a naivety I can never reclaim, a trust in private spaces that was fundamentally broken. But I'm someone new, someone harder, more cautious, more aware, someone who understands the fragility of privacy, who fights to protect it, for myself and others. Henderson took something from me, something irreplaceable, but he didn't take everything. I'm still here, still living, still fighting, still human. And that, I've learned, is enough. Tonight, in my apartment, I did my monthly sweep, RF detector in hand, checking corners, examining smoke detectors, inspecting air vents. Emma watched from the doorway. Find anything? Nothing. Good. I put the detector away. She came over and hugged me. I'm proud of you, she said. For what? For not letting it destroy you. I held her. In my apartment, in my safe space, in the privacy I'd fought to reclaim. The smoke detector on the ceiling was just a smoke detector. The walls were just walls. The space was mine.